President Obama is promising to defend South Korea following Tuesday's attack by North Korea's military. Artillery shells from the north rained down on a small South Korean island Tuesday. The South returned fire, but when the smoke cleared, 2 members of South Korea's military were killed and thousands of people were forced to seek shelter. The dispute started when North Korea demanded the South stop military drills near their sea border. Despite calling the attack outrageous, the United States did not reposition any of its 29,000 troops that are stationed right now in South Korea. The incident comes just a few days after North Korea unveiled its uranium enrichment facility. Here to provide more insight for us this morning, Jamie Metzl. He is Executive Vice President of the Asian Society. Jamie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is not the first time that we have seen deadly conflict between the Koreas. But when we're talking about this time and this conflict, what are the chances that we see this escalating into war?
Yeah, it really could escalate. Both sides have a huge incentive to avoid war. But we've seen time and time again when the North Koreans, who have really little to negotiate with, are creating negotiating platforms out of thin air, and they're doing it by escalating, by creating conflict, which then creates an opportunity for them to negotiate back from conflict. And so when the Cheonan incident happened a few months ago, when the South Korean ship was shot down, it was torpedoed, there was a feeling, well, now they've really crossed the line. They're going to back off. The fact that the North Koreans have attacked yet again, I think, is cause concern for all of us, that there aren't very clear red lines that the North Koreans know they can't cross.
President Obama called this outrageous, but right now the U.S. not taking any direct involvement in this conflict. Is this the best approach for the U.S.?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to let the South Koreans lead. If the United States is seen as pushing North Korea too hard, getting out ahead of our South Korean allies, that could cause a lot of problems. The pressure is really on the South Koreans to find the right balance between a strong enough response to not look weak, but not going so strong that it creates a new round of conflict with tit-for-tat escalation.
North Korea is a political arm of China. They're political allies. What role does China play in this?
China is the key international player. China has all the cards in relation to North Korea. North Korean regime could not survive without the support that they are receiving from China, both materially and internationally, diplomatically. And when China is thinking about North Korea, there are really 3 things that are on their mind. First, they know that if the North Korean regime collapses, they're going to have North Korean refugees streaming across the border into the south of China. That's something that they don't want. Second, they know that the South Koreans and with them the Americans are going to be on their southern border, and that's something that frightens them. And third, they're thinking about Taiwan. If there should be a conflict in Taiwan, the American troops who are stationed in South Korea would likely be the first responders. But if the North Koreans, working with the Chinese at that time of that potential conflict, were to start causing problems into the south, the American troops would be pinned down and unable to go to the rescue of Taiwan. So it's a very, very complicated situation. But internationally, China holds all the cards. And that's why all the world's eyes are on China to see what are they going to do. Are they going to stand by North Korea as they did in the Cheonan incident, or are they going to take a harder line?
But China does not want war.
Right. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants war. But North Korea has come to the conclusion that pretending that they're moving in the direction of war, even taking warlike actions short of war, are in their interest because it gives them extra bargaining pressure. And so China doesn't really like, I think, that North Korea is being so aggressive. But at the same time, they know they can't undermine the North Korean regime, because if they do, the situation from a Chinese perspective could get worse.
We've had a few different big events that have happened since the beginning of the year. One, the North Koreans sinking that South Korean warship, 46 sailors killed.
Right.
You also have the introduction of a new leader, Kim Jong-un.
Right.
Then, of course, you've also got on the backside of that the nuclear facility that was just unveiled. So help me draw the line between all of these events.
Yeah.
Is there a connection here? Is there a relationship?
There is. The first answer is nobody really knows. Even people like me who come on television and are talking about these issues, we can guess, we can see shadows and reflections, but nobody really knows. But my guess is that there is a major transition of power that's happening in North Korea. Kim Jong-un has been selected as the new leader. He's 26 years old, inexperienced, doesn't have any real significant backing, and there are a lot of different factions that are positioning themselves. And part of this aggression is one faction moving against another and using this as a mechanism. Another thing is, with Kim Jong-un moving into this new position, he and the people who support him need to be able to show strength. They need to show that they're willing willing to take aggressive action wherever they believe that it's needed. And so we're seeing a very, very combustible situation, and if we have this kind of escalation, and if people in the South don't really understand what the North is going to do next, and if there is the kind of pressure that's growing on the South to take a stronger line to protect the South's interests, and on the North to be more aggressive in the context of this transition, what we're really seeing is a recipe for some big, big problems unless China, the United States, the South, and others really come together to figure out what can be done to try to dial this back.
It is certainly a situation that we will be watching in the days and weeks ahead. Jamie Metzl, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My great pleasure, Joe.